The Indiana Pacers defeated the Cleveland Cavaliers 114 to 105 last night to close the series. They will now be advancing to the conference finals for the second year in a row. So, this was a great season for Indiana, regardless of what happens from this point forward. No one expected them to get back to the conference finals. They have already achieved that and possibly a chance to get to the NBA Finals if they face the Knicks. That will be a very close series if it does happen. So they put themselves in a great position. But I just want to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers. This season, they had won 64 games, which was the second best win-loss record in franchise history. There was a lot of high expectations going into the season, especially with the start they had gone off to, that this was a championship contending team. This was a team that would at least get to the conference finals, and if not, the NBA Finals. They had three All-Stars in Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and Evan Mobley. They also had made the trade to get in DeAndre Hunter, and that was billed as a big-time trade for them, which would give them just enough to get them to at least the conference finals. There was that hope going into the playoffs that they were going to prove everybody wrong about them that had doubted them. And there were doubts. The Cavs the last 2 years has not done anything significant during the playoffs. 2 years ago, they had the home court advantage, I believe, and they lost to the Knicks in round one, I think in 5 or 6 games. And last year, they had lost to Boston in round two. Granted, they were not the favorites to win that series. Boston was a more talented team, but no one took them seriously after they lost the series in the sense that they could ever be a title contender. They just didn't look like they had the right stuff to be a contender. So there were doubts from the last 2 years heading into these playoffs that this team was for real. They were legit. There were doubts on Donovan Mitchell, if he was for real, if he could rise up to the challenge and carry his team to victory in the playoffs to lead them. But last night confirmed what everyone had thought, that this team is a bunch of frauds, that they were not legit. They were a made for the regular season team, but they couldn't come through when it matters. They were not able to do that. And the way they lost the series showed it. They lost in 5 games, which is pathetic for a team that won 64 games. I know some people will say, like, well, game one, they could have won that game, but game two, they were really unlucky and they lost that game. And then that just led them to a downward spiral. Yes, you could say they were unlucky in game two not to have their full team, but they got their full team back for the rest of the series after game two. And if they had still lost this series, what they had done at 6 or 7, I would give them more respect. But they lost in 5 games. That should not have happened, especially after they got their full team back after game 2. There was no excuse to get blown out the way they did in game 4. And if we're being honest, this game, they melted in the fourth quarter in this elimination game. They didn't make the clutch plays necessary to win. There was this one sequence I felt that was very interesting in the fourth quarter of this game where Donovan Mitchell got fouled, and the score at the time was, I believe, 106 to 100, and he was fouled behind the 3-point line. However, he missed 3 straight free throws. Then the Cavs got a defensive stop, and he hit it 3, and then they were down by 3. However, they fouled Andrew Nembhard, and he got an and one to put them up 109 to 103. What I'm saying is, even though they got the defensive stop to make up for Darwin's missed free throws and he hit it 3, they were still in the hole. Had he made those 3 free throws earlier and then hit the 3, the game would have been tied and they would have had all the momentum. But after Nembhard got that and one, and they went up by 6 again, they never looked back. And then Donovan, after Nembhard got that and one, missed a driving layup, which was costly, and that just was a final nail in the coffin. So he didn't come through when it really mattered in the last few minutes of the game, which is why a lot of people doubt if Donovan is a legit superstar. He shot poorly in this game. If you look at the box scores, let me just pull that up. He shot 8 for 25, 4 of 13 from the 3-point field to end the game with 35 points. But it wasn't a great 35 points. He relied heavily on the free throw shooting, and 15 of 21 from the free throw line is choking for Donovan Mitchell. I'm just going to calculate what type of percentage that is. 15 of 21. Let me just look at that right now. Yeah, 71% free throw shooting. That would be good for any other player, but Donovan, I believe, during the regular season was an 87% free throw shooter. No, he was actually 82%. So he did choke at the line. He didn't shoot his percentage. I know that's not fair to some people, but when you're a perimeter player, you gotta hit your free throws at 80% or higher if you're a star, because you're gonna go to the line a lot, and the margin of victory and defeat is always decided by inches in these games. A lot of times in the playoffs, so few missed free throws can be the difference between winning and losing. The way I look at it, I felt in this game it was, in the sense that if he had made his free throws, the game would have been a lot closer to end with the potential for them to win, but they didn't. So that's something he'll be kicking himself over the summer about. Darius Garland was playing hurt throughout this game, so I don't criticize him much for shooting poorly. He gutted it out. Evan Mobley, he had a great game, 24 points, 11 rebounds, but ultimately Donovan shot poorly, and that did them in, and they just couldn't come through when necessary. The Pacers' defense was great. The Cavs only shot 38.9% from the field, 25.7% from three. When you shoot that poorly, you're just not going to win. I think the final referendum on the Cavs is that they cannot be taken seriously from this point forward. I don't think you blow up the team or break it up. You keep it together, and you just hope that somehow they get lucky in the future. But they'll never be considered the favorites to get out of the East with this current group. But you never know. They might get some fluky luck in the future where some teams get injured in the playoffs next year and they can capitalize. I think that's really the best chance. But they are a regular season team. They'll get you 50 to 60 wins. But a team you'll never take seriously in the playoffs. A team whose ceiling is probably the second round at best, but if injuries happen to their opponent, they could sneak into the conference finals or possibly the NBA finals. That's the way I look at this group of guys, but I don't have anything else to say.